Welcome to Channel 18 News. I'm Jim Rogers. The steak dinner tickets for the third annual Cattlemen's Classic and Ribeye Roundup have sold out. The free concert featuring Stoney LaRue is open to the public with or without a dinner ticket. The concert begins on Celebration Plaza October 6th at 8 p.m. The dinner is at 6 p.m. The cooking contests prior to that event will be judged by 6 beef industry leaders. The Lone Star Heritage Quilt Guild is hosting their 18th annual show Friday and Saturday at The Rock.
Okay, I'm Marty Rayjot, and I'm president of the Lone Star Heritage Quilt Guild here in Sulphur Springs. This is our 18th annual quilt show. It features quilters from the guild as well as quilters from the area. We have visitors that come from different states just to see our quilts. We've got a variety of winners, and I can show you some of those quilts if you'd like.
Well, let's go.
Okay. Karen, I'll get you in a minute.
I gotta go talk to him.
This quilt is our best of show. It was done from a lady who lives in Arlington. She also got first place in bed quilts and judges award.
Well, let's talk about this quilt first.
Okay.
And because it does have a story behind it. And I made this quilt just shortly after my husband passed away. And so the first square up here represents my husband and I kissing goodbye. And then all of the other girls that are in it, you can see they're doing different things, just kind of busy things, trying to stay busy and get through the grieving period, and which is real hard on her. But when she gets down here to the bottom, well, she confides in her friend how she is feeling. And then at the last one over here, well, she has written a letter to her husband and is mailing it in the mailbox. And it is saying farewell to Jack, and so that is the name of the quilt now, is Farewell to Jack. That's the end of that story in that quilt. And it is also a Crayola quilt. It is painted with Crayolas, just regular Crayolas, and then it's heat set with an iron. And so it has been washed, and it can go through a few more washings and still look good.
Well, I have to admit, I've never heard of anyone coloring a quilt with a crayon.
Well, all of these are Crayola, works with a Crayola, such as the tea towel there is just Crayola on it. The flowers over here are Crayola work, and they're also done in the same way. They're heat set with an iron that will make them everlasting. And my first experience was when I was 11 years old. I was at my grandmother's house, and she came out on the front porch because I was a little weepy because I was homesick, and gave me a box of Crayolas and some pieces of muslin that she had drawn farm animals on. And she said, "Here, I want you to color these things." So I actually started doing this when I was 11 years old at my grandmother's knee.
This quilt was made by a former guild member, and it's applique. All of these pieces are what we call needle turn, so the edges are turned under and it's sewn with very, very tiny stitches. And then it is quilted around the applique. There's a lot of detail. This particular quilt is made with 30s fabric. They're reproductions from the fabrics that were around during the 1930s.
It just almost has a 3D effect, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. Now this one is a third place, and it's in a Baltimore album type of setting. This lady is one of our quilters, and she does absolutely marvelous work, and it was quilted by another one of our members. This quilt is made by another one of our members, and also quilted by the same lady who quilted the previous quilt. It is done in different reds. Again, it's applique, and it's what we term needle turn. So the stitches are very, very tiny. And each piece is stitched on individually and then quilted around the areas. This is a very unusual quilt. It is hand stitched and hand appliqued. You don't see very many people that do hand stitching and hand quilting. Hand quilted. The pattern that she used for the quilting is called a Baptist fan, and it's one that is it's a very frequent pattern that's used for hand quilting. This is hand pieced and hand quilted by one of our members. This quilt over here was also made by one of our members and quilted by her. She quilts on an old Singer machine. She sews on a 1950s Singer machine, the metal ones. They're really good machines, and they are very sought after. And a lot of people, you prefer those to the computerized machines. You can do your own maintenance on them. This lady also did all of her quilting on that machine as well. And this is a wall quilt because it's a smaller size. It's also, the type of quilt is a sampler because each square is different.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Wow. Wow. I'm missing Fudgy.
Go around the other side. There's an incredible amount of quilts here with an incredible amount of talent.
I see that. I've never seen the quilts lining the upstairs before.
Oh, we did that last year for the first time, and it has a great visual effect and gives a lot of warmth and color to the place, not just a railing that from the gymnasium that we're in. So it's, and members have just brought older quilts that they have in just for display. Those are all member quilts up there. I'm not sure who this lady is, but this is a beautiful quilt that is done in a chromatographic way so that the colors flow as they go through. And here we have some miniature quilts. This one again is in the 1930s method, or using 1930s fabrics. They're reproduction fabrics. This quilt is done with hexes, or hexagonal pieces of fabric, and it appears that she did this by hand. Let's see. This one is a quilt that is going to be traveling the United States for 3 years. It was also entered into a challenge from the state of Maine, where this lady originally is from. But she is a guild member, and again, she did all of her own quilting. This is called a whole cloth quilt. It is one piece of fabric that is quilted. There are areas that are raised, which is done with a technique called trapunto. This appears to be hand quilted as well. And this is also a judge's choice as well. This lady is not one of our members. So when the judge looks at our quilts, they're blinded. They don't know who the maker is or who the quilter is. They just have a category and they choose from that. So this is not just our quilters that are getting awards.
How many entries you got this year?
We have 156, and that does not include our junior quilters who are under the age of 17. We don't judge those quilts, and it also does not include our antique quilts, which are for display only.
Okay.
It's a very large show this year. This quilt is done with, it's an embroidered quilt, but it's done by machine, by an embroidery machine, and then quilted afterwards around the embroidery. This quilt is hand embroidered and hand quilted, and it's quilted in a method that we call in the ditch, so that you can't really see the quilting because it's black and it's along the black lines. This was the president's choice, or me. I chose this quilt. I always try to choose a quilt that has not been given an award by someone else. And I just really like the fact that there's so much color and so much activity in all of these blocks. Congratulations, Tanya.
Thank you.
This is done by one of our quilters, and she did the quilting as well as the design. And it's also with our theme of birds of a feather, and called Pretty as a Peacock. It's quilted on a long arm, but it's all free motion in the quilting. So in other words, it's what we call ruler work. She designed the quilting. I'm real proud of this one. This one was done by a junior quilter. It doesn't have an award, but it is so creative. They're all dachshunds, and all the fabrics are dog related, and it's just really cute. Girls that are getting into quilting, it's also boys. This one is a simple quilt, but it's still really cute. And it was done by a young man who I believe is 11 or 12. This quilt has won several awards. It's been to several national quilt shows. It's also won our Best Use of Color award, which was given by a local merchant, one of the flower shop ladies. I can't remember her name offhand, I'm sorry. And it's first place in this thing. And if you come in, these are some of her favorite quotes from books and other passages that she hand wrote between it. It's a fingerprint, and she calls it Between the Lines. It is, let's see if it's this side. Again, she's done all the quilting, and she has been to quite a few shows with this and been awarded quite a few awards. And that again is blinded from the judge who's taking a look at that. So they don't know. Now this quilt will be our raffle quilt for next year. And it's called Something Blue. These are the art or modern quilts. This one is particularly interesting. If you notice, it's quilted on the outside. It's quilted under each area. And it's also quilted on the back. This quilt was designed by one of our 2 male quilters that are in the guild.
We have a lady that's a certified judge.
This is a very unusual quilt because it's 3-dimensional. Even though it got an honorable mention, it's still quite intricate in its construction. We're starting to see more art in modern quilts rather than going away from the traditional and the applique quilts and embroidered quilts. We're going into other media to go through our quilting. And here's another example of that, also in this realm. This one got 3rd place. And then last but not least, we have our special feature, which is open only to guild members, and this is Birds of a Feather. The name of our raffle quilt this year is Feathers in My Jelly, because the blocks were made of feathers and they were made from a jelly roll, which is a group of fabrics that are 2.5 inches wide, and there are 42 in a roll. So that's how we got Feathers in My Jelly. Kind of trying to be a little creative. There are a variety of quilts in here that feature birds for most of them. And the, let's see, let me make sure that who this is. I know one of them. The young lady that we spoke with who was doing the Crayola quilts, she won 3rd place for this one. If you notice, there's quite a bit of stitching. This is all done by machine. This is thread work. And this is applique. This is a fusible applique. It's not needle turn if you notice real closely. This is sewn on with her construction. This quilt is real cute, and this is done with a technique called paper piecing. A lot of people don't like paper piecing, but I do. This one uses Swarovski crystals, a little bit of bling to bring out, and it was done with a panel, and the quilting accentuates the areas and the feathers. That was our 2nd place winner. And then we have our 1st place winner, and you see it depends on your interpretation. Stitch a little, talk a lot, and these 3 ladies are similar in what they do, so they're birds of a feather. And that was the reason for this quilt and her explanation of why she did that. So it's got a lot of variation and a lot of different techniques.
I don't know. You'll quilt.
Fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
I
think so.
I'll let you get back to work now.
And feel free to photograph whatever you'd like.
The Sulphur Springs Public Library is a flagship library for a brand new program being offered for persons who want an accredited high school diploma and a career path certificate. Let's find out more from librarian Hope Kane.
Okay, this is called Career Online High School. Now, I'm looking for adults. No high school diploma, no GED. So that's the first way, living in Hopkins County, that is the first way that you are even eligible for this. Okay. When I speak with people, I say, have you ever wished for a second chance at something? I know, raise your hand, a do-over. Would you do it better, different, or with more motivation? This program has the tools to give a motivated, determined person the skills to get out of a rut, become more engaged with their family and community, and give back. So it's good for individuals, it's good for their families and the community altogether.
So you're looking for adults that do not have a high school diploma or GED,
yes,
but are wanting a career.
Yes, maybe they dropped out of high school. Maybe they're missing some credits. This program will assist them in picking up the lost core class credits and help them with a certain career track that they choose, and they will graduate with a high school diploma and a career certificate.
Wow.
I know.
Now, other places are doing this, and we just are now getting on board.
Actually, we've us at the library started working on this 1 year ago.
Okay.
And it was a real opportunity, so we got busy and raised some money to get started. We had to start with a certain amount of money with the Gale, our partnership. Okay. It took a while for some other libraries to really get on board. So actually, Sulphur Springs is the flagship of
kidding.
Texas. Yes.
What? Again?
And Dallas jumped on, Houston jumped on, and Grapevine and Frisco. So we are in good company in launching this program.
Is today the launch of ours or for all?
All.
Okay, then.
Yes.
Well, we need to find out more.
Okay.
There's some things that the person who wants to get into this program needs to bring with them. Motivation, for one.
Sure. This is an online-based program. Sulphur Springs Public Library is not teaching anything. And by the way, Enola, this is in no way taking the place of a GED. A GED is a fantastic tool, and many people can study for it, pass it, and go on with their lives. And it's a fantastic thing to have for whatever reason that if you did not graduate high school. This is something else. It's another option. I've found some people struggle with just studying the study guide or taking the tutoring and passing that GED. It's gotten very, very hard over the past few years, and it's people say it's almost a college prep test. And it's gotten very, very hard. It's not so much of a general education degree anymore. And there's a lot of people that struggle, and math is huge. It is a huge stumbling block for so many people. This is not a quick fix. This is a long-term, like a year investment in yourself. It'll take time. It'll take work, and we're there to really help motivate and guide people and help them when they need some help. But this program really it's straightforward. It's on the computer. There are tutors if you struggle with a certain area, especially in math, but in any area. And it's not set up for you to fail. It is set up for you to keep getting tutoring until you can pass the material. It's fantastic.
What ages do you see coming forward to learn about this?
The average age for this is 32.
Okay. What areas of study will they be signing up for or agreeing to go to?
Okay. You're going to pick up your core classes. If you let's say you dropped out in the middle of 11th grade, you have credits built up already. We send that to the company, and they give you credit. And so you don't have to take all of the 18 classes that are required. Okay. You will already have credit for whatever classes that you've already taken. But they do require English, math, social studies, science. There'll be 14 total core classes. And then there's 4 that you can't drop out of by transferring of career classes.
Or
and you'll get to
electives.
choose a career track to focus on. And that could be food service, retail service, customer service, could be certified transportation services, which is truck driving, could be office management, or even general career prep, which is a good general career start. It will give you a bump in employment. Somebody that graduates from us, we have business partners that we've been working with, and they understand what this program's all about. So when we have a graduate, I call up my business partners and say, hey, I've got a graduate. Would you like to interview them? And they already, by that phone call, it already tells them so much about this person. They go in there to the interview with, I think, kind of a bump up, really, because they know how motivated and how much time that's spent to finish this.
So, this is a wide open and very bright opportunity, but how does someone immediately, take advantage of it?
Go online. Go to my library website, sslibrary.org. And it's on my front page, or you can go to the adult resources page. It's a link. You click on it, you're there. Go read about it. Go read if it's for you. And if it's not for you, then scroll down and look at the other opportunities in this area, from PJC to the workforce. There's lots of opportunities. So if this is not a good fit, I encourage you to go somewhere else. If it's time for a change, I'd say go for it.
You mentioned the average age group that would take advantage of this type of program, around 32, but younger?
Absolutely. You have to be 19.
Okay.
Thanks for watching Channel 18 News. Have a great evening.